Hi everyone, this video is the second part of the course Object-Oriented Programming through C++. In this video, I will discuss about the topics data types in C++, expressions in C++, and what are the different control structures which are used in C++. Now let's see what are the different data types used in C++. The C++ data types are mainly divided into three categories: built-in data type, derived data type, and user-defined data type. The built-in data types are again classified as integral data type, void data type, floating point data type, and Boolean data types. Integer and character belong to the category integral data type, whereas float and double belongs to the floating point data type. Void is a null data type. Boolean data type is used to store the values either true or false. And the second category is derived data type. The example for derived data types are array, function, pointer, and reference. And the third category is user-defined data type. Structures, union, class, and enumerated data types are belong to the category user-defined data type. Now we can go through the data types in detail. The first one is built-in data type or primitive data type. These are the data types which are built-in, or this is the data types which are predefined. And the advantage is that the user can use directly these data types in order to declare a variable. The example for built-in data types are integer, character, float, double, and Boolean. The second category is derived data types. Derived data types are the data types which are derived from the primitive data type or built-in data types. And function, array, pointer, and reference belong to the derived data types. The third one is user-defined data types. These are the data types which are defined by the user. That is, a user can define a new data type from the existing data types and derived data types. That is known as user-defined data type. An example for user-defined data types are class, structure, union, and enumerated data types. Now I am moving on to the next topic, expressions in C++. What is an expression in C++? An expression is a combination of operators, constants, and variables which are arranged according to the rules of the language. And an expression may consist of one or more operands, zero or more operators, and finally it will compute a value. Okay. Now we can see what are the different types of expression. The first category is constant expression. That is the expression that consists of only constant values. For example, the value 15, it is a constant value. So it is an example for constant expression. Similarly, 20 plus 16 minus 5, that is 36 minus 5, 31, which is a constant value. So it is an example for constant expression. The second category is integral expression. That is the expression that produces an integer value as the output after performing all the type conversion. For example, suppose m and n are integer variables. Suppose the value of m is 15. So at a particular instant the value of m is 15. Then it is an integer expression. And m into n minus 15. It is also an integer value. So these are the example for integral expression. The next category is floating point expression. That is the expression that produce floating point values as output after performing all the conversion. For example, x into y by 3.5. This expression will always compute a floating point value for the variables x and y. The next type of expression is relational expression. That is the expression that will produce a Boolean type value. Boolean type value means it is either true or false. Consider the example x less than or equal to y. Whatever be the value of x and y, it will produce either true or false. Similarly, m plus n greater than 100, for a particular value of m and n, it will produce a final value true or false. These are known as relational expression. And the next category is logical expression. That is the expression that produces a Boolean type value after combining two or more relational expression. In the example a greater than b and a greater than c, you can see that this expression consists of two relational expressions. What are the two relational expressions? A greater than b and a greater than c. So it will compute the value of the logical expression a greater than b. Similarly, it will compute the value of the expression a greater than c. And after that, it will find out a value true or false. The value of this expression will be true if the value of a greater than b and a greater than c. Suppose a is less than b and a greater than c, then the value will be false. The second example is that x equal to 10 or y equal to 50. Whenever the value of x equal to 10 or the value of y equal to 15, this expression will produce a value true. Okay. Another type of expression is bitwise expression, and the bitwise expressions are used to manipulate the data at the bit level. Normally these expressions are used for testing and shifting of bits. Consider the example x less than 2. This operator is known as left shift operator. This statement shift the 2-bit positions to the left. That is, the value of the variable x is shifted to left by 2 bits. The second example is y greater than 1. The double greater than symbol is known as the right shift operator. It will shift the value of the variable y to the right by 1 bit. Okay. So these are the example for bitwise expression. The next category of expression is pointer expression. That is the expression which will produce an address value. What is a pointer? Pointer is a variable which can store the address of another variable. So a pointer expression will always produce an address value. See the example ampersand p, where p is a variable. So ampersand p means the address of the variable p. So it is a pointer expression. Similarly ptr plus 1, where ptr is a pointer, so it will contain the address. So ptr plus 1 will also an address. So these are the example for pointer expression. Okay. Now I am moving on to the third topic, control structures. The control structures consist of two categories, conditional branching structures and looping statements. Now let's see what are the conditional control structures. The first type is if statement. The if statement consists of a Boolean expression followed by one or more statement. Next one is if-else statement. An if-else statement consists of an if as well as an else part. That is, an if statement can be followed by an optional else statement which execute whenever the Boolean expression is false. That is, the else part is executed whenever the Boolean expression is false. The next one is nested if statement. That is, one if statement or else if statement can be embedded within another if or else if statement. Okay, that is nested if statement. The next category is switch statement. A switch statement allows a variable to be tested for equality against a list of values. We can see the examples in detail for each category of control structures. The first one is if statement. What is the syntax of if statement? If, and inside the bracket you have to give a Boolean expression, and this Boolean expression is evaluated, and if the value of this Boolean expression is true, it will execute the statement enclosed within the braces. That is, if the expression is true, it will execute the if statement body. If the condition is true, then only the block will be executed. Next one is if-else statement. The syntax is if you have to give a Boolean expression. If this Boolean expression is true, the true block will be executed. After that you have to give a else part. And if the Boolean expression is false, the else part will be executed. Okay. Now we can see an example. The aim of the program is to find the largest among two numbers using if-else statement. The program is like this. You have to include the preprocessor directive, and inside the main we have declared two variables a and b for storing the two numbers, and after that you have to read the numbers using cin statement. And now in the if statement we will give the condition as if a greater than b. Suppose the value of a is greater than b, then what will happen? The if block will be executed. That is, it will print the value of a. And the else block is skipped. Suppose the value of a is less than b, then what will happen? The if block is skipped and the else block is executed. That is, it will print the value of b. Okay. The next one is if else if ladder. The syntax is like this. If a boolean expression 1 is evaluated, and if the boolean expression 1 is true, it will execute that block of statement. If it is false, then again boolean expression 2 is checked. If boolean expression 2 is true, it will execute that particular block. Suppose boolean expression 2 is false, then it will check the boolean expression 3. And whenever the boolean expression is 3, it will execute that particular block. Suppose the boolean expression 1, 2 and 3 are false, then the else part will be executed. This is the syntax of if else if ladder. Next one is nested if. The syntax is if boolean expression 1, and if the boolean expression 1 is true, it will check another boolean expression 2. And if boolean expression 2 is also true, it will execute a particular group of statement. So nested if means an if statement is enclosed within another if statement. Okay. Now we can move on to the switch case statement. A switch statement always tests the value of a variable with multiple cases. Whenever a match is found, a particular group of statement associated with that particular case is executed. Suppose there is no match found, then what will happen? It will execute the default block of statement. See the syntax of switch case statement. You have to give an expression inside the parenthesis, that is switch expression. And the value of this expression is checked with the different case values. Suppose the value of the expression is value 1, then the body 1 will be executed. Suppose the value of expression is value 2, then body 2 will be executed. If the value of expression is value 3, the body 3 will be executed. Suppose the value of the expression is not value 1, not value 2 and not value 3. Then what will happen? The default body of the statement will be executed. And see that after each case value, we have given a break statement. The break statement is used to take an exit from the block. Okay. We can see an example to perform the arithmetic operation of two numbers. That is, we have to find out the sum, difference, product and the quotient remainder of two numbers. And inside the main, we have declared two integer variable n1 and n2. A variable r, it is used for storing the result, and op is used to store the operator, that is plus, minus, star, slash or modulus operator. After that, we have read the two numbers using the cin statement, and also we read the operator op. And in the switch statement, we will check the value of the variable op. If the op is plus, then the case plus will be evaluated. That is, it will find out the sum of n1 and n2 and the result will be stored in the variable r. After that, it will exit from the block. If the op value is minus, then it will find out the difference of two numbers and the result will be also stored in variable r, and it will also exit from the block. Suppose the operator is star, then it will find out the product of two numbers and it will exit from the block. If the operator is slash, then it will find out n1 by n2. The result will be stored in variable r and it will exit from the block. Suppose the operator given is modulus operator, that is the percentage operator, then it will find out the remainder after the integer division n1 by n2. That is, it will calculate the remainder after the integer division n1 by n2. And it will store the remainder in variable r, and it will also exit from the block. Suppose the operator given is not, plus, minus, star, slash and modulus operator, then the default will be executed. That is, it will print it is an invalid operator. After that, the result will be printed. Okay. Now we are moving on to the next category of control structures, that is the looping structures. What are loops? Loops are used to execute a block of statement a particular number of times. That is the use of loops. Now we are moving on to the while loop. While loop is known as entry controlled loop. The while loop execute a particular set of statements until the condition is true. The syntax is that while, and inside the parenthesis you have to given a condition. Whenever the condition is true, the loop body will be executed. Okay. And whenever the condition becomes false, it will not execute the loop body. See an example. The program is to print the 10 natural numbers, first 10 natural numbers. We have included the IOStream header file h and using namespace std. After that, inside the main, I have given a variable I declared as integer and initialized as the value 1. And inside the while loop, I have given the condition as I less than or equal to 10. The aim of the program is to print the first 10 natural number. So the first natural numbers to be printed is 1 and the last natural number to be printed is 10. So the initial value of I is given as 1 and the final value of I should be 10. So I have given the condition as I should be less than or equal to 10. And inside the while loop, the value of I is printed and the value of I is incremented by 1. We know that the natural numbers are differ from only one number different. So the I is incremented by 1. Now we can see how the loop works. Here the initial value of I is 1. So the condition is checked. 1 less than or equal to 10. So the condition is true and 1 is printed. After that, I is incremented by 1. Now the value of I is 2. The condition is again checked. Again it is true. So 2 is printed and I is incremented by 1. Now the value of I is 3. Again the condition is checked. The 3 is less than or equal to 10. The condition is true and 3 is printed. If we proceed in this way, suppose the value of value of I becomes 9 and it will check the condition 9 less than or equal to 10. The condition is true and 9 is printed and now the value of I is incremented by 1. That is, now the new value of I is 10. Again it will check the condition 10 less than or equal to 10. Yes, the condition is true. Again it will print the value 10 and I is incremented by 1. Now the new value of I becomes 11. Again the condition is checked 11 less than or equal to 10. No. Now the condition becomes false. So it will exit from the loop. Okay. The next one is for loop. Similarly, in the case of while loop, for loop is also used to execute a block of statements continuously for a fixed number of times until a particular condition becomes false. The syntax of for loop is that for the first part is initialization section. After that, you have to give a semicolon. The next part is the condition part. And again, there is a semicolon. And the third part is increment or decrement section. And inside the braces, we have to give the block of statements that are to be executed repeatedly. We can see an example. This example program is to find the sum of natural numbers up to 100. That is, we have to find out the sum of natural numbers from 1 to 100. So inside the main function, I have declared two variables, integer variables I and S. I is used to store the natural numbers and S is used to store the sum of natural numbers. So S is initialized as 0. We know that the for statement has three sections. The first one is the initialization section. The second part is the condition checking. And the third one is the increment or decrement section. We know that the first natural number to find out the sum is 1 and the last number to be find out the sum is 100. So the I is initialized as 1 and the value of I should reach up to 100. So the condition is given as I less than or equal to 100. And we know that two consecutive natural numbers should differ by one number. So the I is incremented by 1. Okay, and inside the for loop, I have given the statement s equal to s plus I. That means the value of I is added to the variable s. And outside the loop, I have written a statement for printing the value of s. Now we can see how the for loop works. The initial value of I is 1. So it will check the condition I less than or equal to 100. That is 1 less than or equal to 100. The condition is true. So s is added with I. And now it will increment the value of I by 1. Now I becomes true. Again it will check 2 less than or equal to 100. Yes, the condition is true. The I value is added with s and I is again incremented. I is now 3. Again it will check 3 less than or equal to 100. Yes, the condition is true. I is added with s and again I is incremented by 1. If the loop proceed in this way, suppose at a particular value, the value of I becomes 99. It will check the condition 99 less than or equal to 100. Yes, the condition is true. So it will add 99 with the s value and it will increment I by 1. Now the new value of I becomes 100. It will check whether 100 less than or equal to 100. Yes, the condition is true. So the 100 is added to the sum variable s. After that it will increment the value of I by 1. Now I is updated value is 101. It will check whether 101 less than or equal to 100. No, the condition is now becomes false. So it will not execute the loop body and it causes an exit from the loop. And after the exiting from the loop, it will print the value of the variable s. That is the sum of natural numbers from 1 to 100. Okay. Now we can go through the do while loop. Do while loop is known as exit controlled loop. In the case of while loop, we have seen that while loop is known as entry controlled loop. Entry controlled loop means in the case of while loop, the loop condition is checked at the top of the loop. Whereas in the case of do while loop, it is known as exit controlled loop. That is, it will check the condition at the end of the loop. See the syntax of do while loop. Initially you have to give a do statement. After the do statement, you have to give the opening brace. After that, we have to give the block of statements to be executed. And after that, we will give the while statement and the condition within the braces. Okay. Now we can go through an example. The program is to print the odd numbers up to a limit n. We know that in order to print the first odd numbers up to a limit n, the first number to be printed is 1. So I have declared an integer variable I and it is initialized as 1. After that, I have read the limit n and inside the do statement, I have printed the value of I. We know that two consecutive odd numbers will differ by 2. So the value of I is updated by 2. That is, I is incremented by 2. And inside the while statement, the condition is given as I less than or equal to n. That is, the value of the odd number should be less than or equal to the limit n. Now let's see how the loop works. Assume that the value of n is given as 12. Now the initial value of I is 1. So we know that in the case of do while loop, it is an exit controlled loop. So there is no condition checking at the beginning. So the I value is not compared with the limit n in the first case. So it will directly go to the body of the loop. That is, 1 is printed and it will update the value of I by 2. Now the I value becomes 3. Now it will check the condition. that is 3 less than or equal to 12. Yes, the condition is true. So 3 is printed and I is incremented by 2. Now the updated value of I is 5. It will again check 5 less than or equal to 12. Yes, the condition is true. It will print the value of 5 and I is updated to 7. Again it will check 7 less than or equal to 12. Yes, the condition is true. 7 is printed and it will update 7 to 9. Now it will check 9 less than or equal to 12. Yes, the condition is true. It will print the value of I, that is 9, and it will update I to 11. Again it will check 11 less than or equal to 12. Yes, the condition is true. It will print the value of I, that is it will print 11 and update the value of I to 13. Now it will check 13 less than or equal to 12. Now the condition become false. Therefore, it will not execute the loop body and it will cause an exit from the loop. So, it will print the odd numbers from 1 to 11. Okay. Thanks for watching.